Hairdresser, 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 would you set me up? Make a little wave or two. Make me into something new. 'Cause I am so blue. She's blue. I'll give you a chance. 'Cause I wanna dance. And if you really would, it would be. It's Lucille Cataldo, darlings. I'll make sure I tip you good. Cut my hair, it won't behave. Set it up with jelly to wave. 1 or 2 ringlets. Keep the top a little way. Isn't she beautiful? Look at her. Hey, don't get so upset. I won't. I think something's wrong. You're taking much too long. Are you sure this piece looks great? I'm worried, I'm tired, I'm late. She's late, so am I, darling. I can't help it. Oh, that's the lovely Lucille Cataldo and her rendition of Hairdresser. And today's show is all about hair, and it starts right about now, everyone.
If you're stuck inside and you need some fun, she's the grande dame of Cacneton. With Victoria Sautee.
That's me, Victoria Sautee, here to learn stuff. And today's a very special day. It is the National Hairstylist Appreciation Day, and I'm going to appreciate my hair and my stylist in today's broadcast. Now, the show is all about and brought to you by the word hair. That's right. It's brought to you by the word hair. And we all know what hair is, darling, don't we? Yes, we know what hair is. Hair is a filament that grows from follicles in the derma. Yes, it's a filament that grows from follicles in the derma. Say that 3 times fast, darling. Actually, what that means is it's a thread that grows from holes in your skin. It's a thread that grows from holes in your skin. I don't like the way it sounds that way, but it looks delicious, doesn't it, darling? Hair is not only what we wear on our heads and various other places, darling. It's also the title of the 1968 Broadway American Tribal Love rock musical, Hair. 4 years on Broadway, Hair was. It was groundbreaking. Before they even thought about Hamilton or knew who he was, there was Hair. It was well sought after, and everybody wanted to get in to see Hair. They did, and the list of stars and fabulous people who were in Hair goes on and on there. Well, did you know that Diane Keaton was in Hair? That's right. Ben Vereen was in Hair. Keith Carradine was in Hair. Andre DeShields, he was in Hair. That's right. Paul Jabara, Meatloaf was in Hair. I'll bet you didn't know that Meatloaf was in Hair. I once found a hair in my meatloaf, but I never knew meatloaf was in Hair. Well, let's take a closer look at Hair, shall we, darling? Let's learn about it. There it is. There's that hair. Look at it. I don't know if I like to look at it, but each strand of hair that we have on our bodies has 3 parts. Now, the outermost part that we have there on the outside, that's called the cuticle. It's cute. Well, I don't know if it's cute, but it's called that. Now, the middle part, that thick line, where is it? That thick line that we have in the middle, that's called the cortex. It's not just called the hair. It's the cortex is what it is. And then the innermost is if you look really closely at that, you'll see another stripe. That's the medulla, the innermost part of the head. You put that all together and you have the hair. And this gray mass, that's us, darling. That's what we look like if we took a microscope picture of us. And remind me not to do that. And right down here, do you see that part that looks like a green onion or a scallion? That's the bulb. We all have bulbs on our hair. It makes the hair a little more merry, knowing there's a bulb at the bottom, doesn't it? Now, what's your hair look like, darling? I wonder out loud. Who's out there? Who's out there that'll tell me what their hair's like? Whose hair is curly? Do we have any curly cues out there? Do we have anyone wavy? What about straight? Do we have anyone straight out there? I mean, your hair, of course, darling. Coarse? Kinky? Hair of many colors? I'll bet there's some lovely people out there who color their hair. I'll bet you there are. My hair is natural like this. It's not only curly, it's wavy, it's kinky, it's fine, it's thin, and it's coarse, all at the same time. How do I do it? Now, of course, we are celebrating National Hairstylist Appreciation Day, and let's think about that. Our hairstylist, our hairdresser, as the song informs us. Now, that person is a person whose job it is to make us look good, to cut and style our hair, to maintain or change our image. And it's been going on for thousands of years, back in the ancient times. Look, this is a drawing from an Egyptian wall of one person tending to another person's hair. Isn't that wonderful? The ancient Greeks, Aristophanes, he wrote about getting his hair did. He did. Yes. Some cultures actually believe that spirits lived in our hair, and I'm not too sure they were all that wrong. Now, the word hairdresser first appeared in the 17th century in Europe. And women in that day, they like to keep their hair nice and big. I like to keep my hair big, but look at this, darling. That's ridiculous. That's how big their hair was. If only wealthy people got their hair done, and how big their hair got told how wealthy they were. I don't know if that's true, but I'm going to go with it. I am. Look at that. Now, here's another picture of some 17th century women with the big hair, and over here there's actually a man who's got some big hair too. They're all rather pointy, and who knew that long before the 1950s beehive that people's hair looked like beehives? That's right. Now, in the late 1800s, the curling iron was invented by a man named Marcel. And there's his little invention. He's curling. There's a young lady curling her own hair, giving herself a lovely Marcel. It sounds rather unusual, doesn't it? What are you doing, Judy? I'm downstairs giving myself a Marcel. I'll leave you alone for a little while then. That's right. Now, back in the 1900s, hairdressing became popular for everyone. The bobby pin was invented. Girls started actually bobbing their hair like this lovely lady here. They cut it all off. They've had it with those big, tall hairstyles, and they chopped it all off. And then in the 1940s, we invented hairspray. That's right. Hairspray was invented in the 40s, and it wasn't until 1988 that the movie Hairspray first was released. Let's learn about that, shall we? Now, of course, we can't talk about hair and hairstylists without talking about shampoo. Now, shampoo was also an invention in the 1700s in India, where they would take berries and leaves and sort of boil them all up into a concoction, and they didn't eat it. No, they applied it to their hair because they thought it would look better. I don't know what they were thinking, darling, and they did. That's what they did. And then finally in the 1800s, shampoo was considered like a medicine. If you had a sore back, you'd shampoo your hair and they'd say you'd feel better. Or if you had your arm was a little tight, you'd shampoo yourself, and that's what it was used for. But then in Germany in 1927, a German fellow named Hans Schwarzkopf invented the shampoo as we use it now. And it wasn't from 1927 till 1975 that the movie Shampoo came out with Warren Beatty and Julie Christie and Goldie Hawn, post-laughing Goldie Hawn, of course. Yes, that's right. Well, I think we've had quite a lovely lesson about hair, and we can't proceed without me bringing on my favorite hairstylist. Let's bring on my friend Jess from Kimberly Company. Hello, Jessica.
Hello. Hi.
It's nice to see you.
How are you? It's good to see you.
I'm doing well, yes. So tell us all about being a hairstylist. Everyone misses their hairstylist these days, don't they?
And let me tell you, we miss everybody.
Sure.
It's a sad time. I mean, our clients, the people we see every day that sit in our chair, become our friends and our family. And to not be able to see them as much as we do is kind of heartbreaking.
Do you think it's going to be a disaster when you see them again? That you need
I think
to do
everybody's hair is going to be a disaster, but we're ready to fix it. We're ready.
That's
to get
wonderful.
To work. Yeah.
Now, Jessica, how did you get started in the hair industry?
Well, when I was young, and I always knew that I would end up in the beauty industry, either with hair or makeup. I loved playing with hair. I remember asking Santa Claus for hairspray and curling irons and products to do hair with instead of toys. It's something that I really was obsessed with even at a young age. So instead of going, to a regular high school, I went to a technical school, and I graduated with a hairdressing, license, and I went to school right away, and I haven't stopped since.
Can you tell how long does it take to get a hairdressing, go to hairdressing school?
So hairdressing school is about 1,200 hours, and then
My
you take
goodness.
so then you take a state board test, and it's pass or fail, and then you start from there.
Is it like driving a car? Did they make you actually cut someone's hair and give a color?
Surprisingly, no. It was 100-question multiple choice, and
Yes.
it wasn't difficult. I'll have to say. So it was surprising, all the studying and practicing, and the test was not that difficult.
Well, that's wonderful. Now there's hope. There's hope for some of those young ladies out there who want to become hairdressers.
Yeah, I encourage it. I mean, being in this profession was one of the best things in my life, and anybody who likes science and art and beauty, I encourage them to get into this industry.
That's
It's forever evolving. It changes rapidly, and if you like to see people where every day is just, so many new faces and happy stories, and I love it.
That's wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about Kimberly and Company and the salon you're there?
Yes. So Kimberly Company, I've been with working for Kim since 1997, and it's like a family. We're a close, tight-knit group, and we have so much fun. I always say going to work's like going to happy hour every day. You laugh and joke, and by this time we really have a solid clientele that we love dearly, and to see everybody come in every day, it's a happy time. It's a happy shop. We love it.
Now, besides hair, does your salon do other sort of?
So we do nails and pedicures and waxing. It's a full service salon. Yeah,
it's wonderful. Now, tell me, is there a particular style that people say, I'm coming to Jess because she does X, Y, or Z?
So I'm a hair colorist. So
I'm
for my hair color and color corrections. So I fix a lot of things that maybe other stylists haven't been able to fix in the past, or if a client has a radical hair color change that they want to achieve, they come see me, and I can talk them through it and let them know if it's a realistic expectation or not, and how many services it's going to take to achieve that, and help facilitate it.
I'm going to guess when we're all through with this, we're all going to have a lot of corrective color to do.
Yeah,
a lot of women with a big white stripe right here.
Yes, and now's the time that people are getting really gutsy because they're bored, and they're a lot of at-home hair color kitchen witch jobs, and it's gonna be fun to correct. But it's what it is. What are you gonna do?
I have a question. It's one of those questions. It comes up often when I'm talking about the hair.
Yeah.
How often should we shampoo our hair? There's some who say you should do it every day, and some, like a pair of jeans, only wash it once every month or two.
Well, I think it's all personal preference. There's some people that have extremely oily, sebaceous, scalp. Sebaceous. So they should be shampooed daily or every other day. And then there's some people who have dry scalps that don't use much product, or really use a lot of product and like their hair to stay in. So about 7 days. So on an average, I always suggest, if you don't have to wash your hair that day and you can skip it, go as long as you can.
Well, that's
I think 7 days is the cutoff, I feel. But people sometimes with dry shampoo can go up to 10 days, and good for them. Especially if your hair is chemically treated, you want your hair color to stay as bright and vibrant as possible, and that happens by not washing it so much. I mean, you can't slow down the hair growth, so you will get a root line, but to keep it bright and vibrant on your ends and keep it shiny is reducing the amount of shampoo, and also reducing the amount of heat elements that you put in your hair, blow drying, flat iron, curling.
Yes.
Because that can, like you explained before, the cuticle of the hair, that can swell the cuticle of the hair, therefore making the hair color dissipate a little quicker.
Now, I have another question for you. Yes,
Yeah.
I do. Has anything unusual ever happened, or a funny story about cutting someone's hair that you can share with our audience?
Well, being a hairdresser, I can pretty much tell you what anybody will do for a Klondike bar, but I keep those secrets safe with me. Those go to the grave. But I think one of my favorite stories is I had a client come in, and she had very dark blotchy hair that she was coloring herself, and she had a line of demarcation of new growth that was very gray, salt and peppery. And she said, Jessica, I'm a natural blonde, and that's what I want to go back to. And I was like, well, looking at your natural color, I'm going to say you're not a blonde, you're salt and pepper, but I can do my best to make you as light as possible. We'll color correct this, we'll adjust your root tone, and we'll eventually get this balanced. And she was very adamant in how she was a natural blonde. And I tried to explain to her about realistic expectations and what she can expect from the service I'm going to give her. And she says, well, I have a picture because I was a blonde before. And I was like, oh, okay. And she pulls it out, and she was a picture of her when she was 5 years old. Mm-hmm. And this woman was probably in her mid 60s. So,
I wonder if she's watching the show today. I hope she is.
Listen, I always say your natural color is what you see here now, not what it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. This is what we need to address today. This is today.
Well, they tell us that salons are going to be the first thing back when this is all through.
Let's hope. Let's pray. Let's hope and pray. I can't wait.
And tell everyone where your salon is located.
I'm at Kimberly Company on Research Drive in Milford, Connecticut, and I can't wait to see everybody. Come see me. You have any hair color disasters, I will talk you through it and fix you up.
Jess is your girl. Thank you, Jess, for coming on and stopping by.
I love your tongue, Victoria. It was great seeing you.
Nice to see you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Well, we'll be back with more of Victoria Sautee and Let's Learn Stuff right after this brief message from Pantochino Productions.
My sister likes it. My older brother likes it. Mommy and Daddy like it. And I like it. It's not pizza. It's Pantochino Podcast. Ridiculously entertaining. Mini musicals for everyone. Listen now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
And we're back. Now, have you ever seen one of these? Yes. Now, I know not only do ladies like to have their hair done, but so do gentlemen. Yes, and this is a rubber pole. It dates back to the beginning of hairdressing. And when a gentleman saw this, he knew not only could he get a haircut, he could have a tooth pulled. He could have maybe a little cut on his finger stitched. The hair stylist for men, the barbers did it all. And here to tell us a little bit about hairstyles for men and today's trendy beard culture is our roaming reporter at large, Mr. Dazzle. Mr. Dazzle, there you are.
Hello, how's everybody?
I'm doing wonderful. You're a beardologist today.
I am a beardologist. I know so much about the beard, I thought I'd share some things with you.
Let's hear them. I can't wait.
Well, hair and beards have existed since people have, and I didn't want to go through all of human history, so I thought I'd start with a couple of famous beards that maybe we all know, or maybe we don't, and we'll learn something along the way. My first beard, and please, anyone feel free to chime in if you know who this is, belongs to this gentleman. Now, this gentleman was English. He was a naturalist. He was actually a geologist, but he's known for biology because he is, in fact, Mr. Charles Darwin. Look at that majestic beard.
Mr. Darwin, hello there.
Darwin, yes, his theory of evolution revolutionized all of biology and anthropology. So very famous, born in 1809, and he's got a beard like Santa Claus, so we all like him.
He does. I hope he doesn't go around eating spaghetti with that beard.
Well, then he'd have a two-tone beard.
Yes.
So this next person was actually born the same year as Darwin, and maybe you'll recognize this face. Of course, I've just got the beard highlighted there.
A lovely beard.
Yes, it's a lovely beard. It's the chin strap goes all the way up to the top of the head. It's like a wreath of hair.
A chin strap.
So this gentleman is, of course, Mr. Abraham Lincoln, who we all know was the 16th president of the United States. He served us during the Civil War. He brought the country back together when it was at its most broken, and did a lot of wonderful things. He delivered the Gettysburg Address, in fact, which is one of the most famous presidential speeches that we know.
You know, I tried to find the Gettysburg Address, but it wasn't on MapQuest. I was driving around in circles looking for that address.
So I have another beard here for you. So this person was an artist, and of course, as an artist, he didn't have any photographs taken of him. There are no photographs that we know of him, but he was born in 1853, and he was a Dutch post-impressionist. This is his self-portrait that he made, a painting of himself. He loved to use these colors, and his name is, in fact, Vincent van Gogh, or Van Gogh, if you like. His most famous painting that you'll probably recognize is The Starry Night.
Yes, of course.
Look at that. Those colors. It's a beautiful canvas. Who else do we have? Oh, I have a wonderful person here. This is a French person born in 1862. He was, let me get my picture up so you can guess. He was a composer of French music. He wrote a lot for piano and string orchestras. He was considered an impressionist, but he hated the word. And his name is, if I can get back to him, where'd he go? There he is. Claude Debussy.
Debussy!
Debussy, yes. And you may know his work, Clair de Lune, which is playing here.
Yes, I heard that on an elevator once.
Yes. So I've got one more here for you.
One more beard.
This one's a little more recent, okay? This fine gentleman owned a chain of restaurants. He was very famous for one particular recipe that he had. Maybe if that doesn't help you, why don't we try this?
Oh, original or extra crispy?
Yes, it's Colonel Sanders. Now, Colonel Sanders was a real person. He's not just a logo. And Colonel Sanders actually had a chicken recipe that he started when he lived in Kentucky. And he started a chain of restaurants. He actually had to move all the way out west to get it started. But once he did, it became a national phenomenon. He sold the company in the 60s, but he stayed on in the Canada wing. So he could live there and work as the Canadian chicken merchant, I guess. Here he is. Without the bar, you can see he's a stately older Southern gentleman, and he has this lovely little. It's like a long strip that just goes right down the center.
Like a landing strip, is that what they call it?
I believe it is. What a distinguished gentleman he was.
He was, and his chicken is delicious. Mr. Dazzle, thank you so much for telling us all about beards today. We appreciate it.
Beards are famous, and so are the people behind them.
Maybe one day you too, Mr. Dazzle.
Maybe.
Thank you so much, darling. We'll see you.
Bye, Victoria.
Bye. Now I have a lovely little get crafty moment for us all. I do. We're going to do a craft where we can all become hairstylists just like Jess. Now what we're going to need is a plastic spoon or maybe a couple of plastic spoons. I don't know why. I seem to have a plethora of plastic spoons in my house. I do almost all of my crafts use them. And we need some tape. I like the heavy duty kind. A scissor because we're going to be cutting hair. We are. And I have some Sharpie pens, we do, and I have a variety of different things. I have some ribbon, I have some strands of I don't know, twine, I suppose. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a little person. That's right. I'm going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to draw a little person right here on the back of my spoon. I have a red Sharpie and I'm going to give a little red smile. Look at that. And now I'm going to take my strands of twine and a nice little piece of tape. And I'm going to tape the twine right to the back of my little face there. Look, you see that? There we go. I just tape it right to the back of the face. And look, I suddenly have a lovely little puppet girl. Now, this one here, I've done with some ribbon. So look at their little hair. They're very shaggy, you know. You could also use a tissue, and you could create a little doll with a tissue. And what you do, once you've made all your little people, you say, "Hello, darling. how would you like your haircut today? And she says, oh, I don't really care. Be creative. Do something wacky. So I take my little scissors and I can cut her hair. I can give her an asymmetrical bob, or I can really show her who's who, and I can cut her hair. I can. Who needs dolls when you can make your own little crafty hair, people? Let's give little ribbon lady a little trim, shall we? Because everyone needs some trim every now and then. And there's hers. Now I want you to get crafty with those items. I do. And then what I want you to do is take a picture of them and send them to me, because I like pictures of things. I really do. Now, I think all of you know that I have been talking about fun with Dick and Jane since we began several weeks ago with the program. Now, I don't know how I feel about Jane. I still don't. But I think we have a little disagreement between the two of us. I'm not sure why, but there is. How many of you out there, let me see your response. How many of you out there like Jane? Do we have anyone out there who likes Jane? No? I know there's a slight delay. Nobody seems to like Jane. Do we have anyone out there who likes Dick? No? Well, here's my next story. It's a brand new story that I just found about fun with Dick and Jane. And this one's all about Jane. It's called Jane, Go Away. That's right, Jane, Go Away. It's a brand new story, and you're the first ones to hear it, darling. You are. Oh, Suzanne's out there, and she likes Jane. I'll bet you like Jane. Here we go. So here's our first. Father said, Mother, I have a surprise for you, a great big surprise. And there's Mother in the middle, and Father holding the eyes there, and there she is there. There's Jane. And then he goes on and says, what could it be, said Mother. What could it be? Because people always say things twice in Fun with Dick and Jane. What could the surprise be? I'm sending Jane to Mexico, said Father. Away she goes. And you see in the little drawing there, Father's holding a sign. Jane, it says Mexico. And then Jane started to run. Run, Jane, run. Look at her go. Look at her go as fast as her little Mary Janes can carry her. The dog's chasing after her too. In our next picture, the green Mexico car picked up Jane and said, Grandma and Grandpa. And Jane calling for help. You see, there's Jane in the car going off to Mexico, and there's Grandma and Grandpa, who we haven't seen yet, and they're chasing after her. Away she goes to Mexico. A final drawing here we have. The next day, Jane was in Mexico, and they made her wear roller skates and hold 2 brooms. Do you see that? There's Mexico, and there's Jane on roller skates holding 2 brooms. That's what she gets. The end.
I am not going to Mexico!
Jane!
I'm staying right here in the glittery bunker.
This is my glittery bunker, Jane. It is. And sorry, Jane, but you are not invited in here.
What about me? I'm Dick.
Well, Dick, you can stay, but Jane, you have to go.
No, I'm never going to Mexico. I'm going to stay right here, and this show will be mine. Mine! Learn stuff with Jane.
Victoria, what are you going to do?
Never fear. Oh, look over there. It's cake and ice cream.
Oh, boy.
Cake and ice cream. I'm going to eat all the cake and ice cream.
And they're gone. That trick works every time. It does. Well, friends, I want to thank you all for coming today. And I want to remind you of a special event we have coming up next week on May 5th and 6th. It's the Great Give, and it's a lovely event to help Pantochino Productions. It's an online giving event. You can head on over to pantochino.com. Your donation is matched with funds from the Community Foundation of Greater New Haven. Isn't that just lovely? Now, I want you to be good until next week when I see you again. Wash your hands, stay indoors, and for heaven's sake, be kind to each other by doing each other's hair. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.
If you're stuck inside and you need some fun, she's the grande dame of getting it done. With Victoria Sautee.
Goodbye. How do you turn this thing off? I can't do it. I never can.